Go love your own enemies. Don't be loving mine. My enemies are the theocratic fascists. I don't love them. I want to destroy them.
You're a child made in the image of God. Oh no, you're not. You're a faggot. And you can't join your church and you can't go to heaven. This is disgraceful. It's inhuman.
Someone by the name of Niburu Illyria, I'm not sure if I'm saying the name right. I believe this person, I don't know if he's he or she, I can't tell from the name, is a follower on my channel or a subscriber or not, but I have seen this person's name before. Spelled first name Niburu, last name looks like 3 L's, Yria. I have a question, D.
Since before your sun burned hot in space, and before your race was born, I have awaited a question.
It's true. Being a woman and everything, I feel like that people don't necessarily take anything I say very seriously, especially since I don't, I'm not like a professor. I'm not a learned scholar. I'm just a humble person who thinks a lot. That's all. That's me. I think a lot, don't articulate very well, don't enunciate very well. Anyway, so I have a question for you, D. Okay. I'm not sure if you've talked about it before or not, but what are your initial thoughts when someone says that your videos are offensive toward religious people, and what are your responses toward those people rather than just what you think? What are my responses when people say, he's got several questions.
Since before your sun burned hot in space, and before your race was born, I have awaited a question.
Okay, so, where was I? Okay. When somebody says that my videos are offensive toward religious people, what do I say to them? What are my responses? Not just what I think, because I'm sure I've said what I think about that many times. My responses are, I say to them that their cult is offensive, that I find their cult, offensive. If they don't like offensive videos, then maybe they shouldn't shove their cult and their belief system down everybody else's throats. I find it offensive that people say to me, well, I can't wait to see you burning in hell. I personally think that's offensive. Or even people who imply that if I don't believe the same way they do, I deserve to be tortured forever. I think that's really offensive. Or people that come to me with this, well, you just love your sin so much. I find that offensive. People have these huge assumptions about their beliefs, and they just assume their beliefs are true. They just assume this thing called sin really actually exists, and they just want to judge other people based on their assumptions. So yeah, I find that assumption to be offensive. I find people accusing me of being lost or unenlightened or blind offensive. I find it condescending and a put down. People who look down their noses at other people, and say things like that to other people, that is like profoundly arrogant. And I find that offensive. So when people say, well, your videos are offensive, that's the kind of responses I give back to such a question as that, or to such a response, I should say. That's my response to his question. This is the kind of thing that I would say back to anybody who accused me or said that my videos are offensive. I'd say tough shit. Good. Maybe knowing what it's like to have your precious belief system tromped all over, maybe that's a good thing. Maybe if you know how it feels to be on the receiving end of that, you might think twice about treating other people and their beliefs like that. because that's what Christians do and other people from other religions, but I've not really experienced that. I've only really experienced Christians treating me like, you know, well, my beliefs don't count. My beliefs are wrong. My beliefs, you know, they have no relevance. And then they want to know why atheists like myself could give a rat's ass if they're offended, because they could give a rat's ass how much they offend me and other atheists. I mean, they're constantly on a day-to-day basis looking for ways to put people down and tell people, you know, well, if you're not just like me, you deserve to be tortured forever. So just a few things I wanted to say in response to his question, what I say or how I respond to people like that. So then he goes on and he says, okay, also, what do you think of the word Islamophobia and anti-Semitism, probably said that wrong, and other anti-religion religious words? So now he's asked me another question. You know, all these questions, I'm feeling really, first of all, I'm really flattered that anybody would ask me questions like this, like what I think, you know, has any relevance. I think that's really kind of cool that somebody would want to know what I think about these things. And also, it's just because, you know, I think that men are, when it comes to stuff like philosophy and studies and, you know, scholarly matters, didn't say that right, matters, men are respected more. You know, I don't hear very many times, I haven't run across very many lectures given by women atheists. I haven't seen very many debates given with or given to or challenged to women atheists. So it's kind of cool in that respect. I feel like, you know, anyway. Okay, so how do I feel about the words Islamophobia? When I think of, it's bigotry is what it is. It's bigotry. People who are Islamophobic or anti-Semitic, I don't know how to say, again, that word, I think they're bigots. Anytime you take a whole group of people and generalize them and give them qualities or characteristics, oh, all Jewish people are this way, all Muslims are this way, it's bigotry. But if you are against the cults themselves, you're not against, I don't think being against a religious system or religious belief that you disagree with is Islamophobia or anti-Semitism. Islamophobia and anti-Semitism is, in my opinion, you're assuming a person is a certain way because of their religion. That's what how I would define those two words. That's something aimed at the person themselves, not the religion. As an atheist, you're against the cult. You're against the teachings of a deception that you feel causes harm either to yourself personally or how you're looked upon by other people or your society or the world. You're against the cult. You're against the organization. You're against the religious belief that nurtures, you know, these kinds of mentalities that are harmful to the world. So no, I think those words are not accurate if they're applied to you just because you are against a religion or a cult. I think that if you walk around saying all Jewish people are tight, then yeah, the word anti-Semitism might apply to you. Or if you think that all Muslims are terrorists and they all want to kill you, then maybe you have some Islamophobia. You know, I'm sure there's a lot of peace-loving Muslims, just like there's a lot of peace-loving Christians. I try not to judge everybody based on the extremists, you know, that unfortunately live and breathe. But at the same time, I look at people who are not extremists, who are the peace-loving kind of Christian or Muslim. They're feeding the monster. You know, it's hard to separate your anger toward the cult with, you know, the individual person who is contributing to that cult, contributing to the monster that is causing harm to the world. Yeah, I think that if you're, as long as you're not attacking, I think there's a line between attacking the cult and attacking an individual. I think if you're just attacking and opposing a harmful cult, you're not Islamophobic and you're not anti-Semitism, whatever. But if you're actually attacking a person and assuming they're a certain way because of their religious belief, then yeah, then I would say that those words apply. Okay, another question.
Before your sun burned hot in space, and before your race was born, I have awaited a question.
Do you consider those words to be accurate when applied to atheism, or are they just words that can be tacked onto anyone? Same thing. I think that if the atheist is opposing and attacking the cult itself, I would say it's not an accurate word to describe that person. If the atheist is attacking a person and assuming they're a certain way because of their religion, then yeah, I would think that those words could be applied to that atheist. That's just me, again, in my opinion. And lastly, regarding those words, do you consider it to be inherently bad to be those things? Regarding those words, do you consider it inherently bad to be those things? Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. I think it's bad to put people in little boxes. I think bigotry is wrong. I think calling all atheists angry is bad. I think calling all Jewish people tight is bad. I think calling all Muslim people terrorists is bad. I think calling all Christians, what would we say about Christians? Self-righteous. You know, there's a lot of those soapboxing Christians that get on their pedestals and act like they're just so holier than thou, and they have some kind of right to judge other people and look down their noses at other people. You know, saying all Christians are like that, I would call that bad. There's a lot of Christians who are not like that, who just live their lives and try to be good people. And maybe they go to church sometimes, maybe they don't, you know. So yeah, calling all people a certain thing, or putting one characteristic or a couple stereotypical characteristics on a whole group of people just because some of those people have those characteristics, I think that's wrong. Then he writes, I've been called a fun myriad of those words before because of the way I talk about religion and Islam and Christianity in particular. I suppose it's just the negative connotation that the words are being used with, but personally I am afraid of religion that sentences me and people like me to death by stoning simply because of the way I want to live my life or who I want to live my life with, and yet people still feel entitled to say that I'm disgusting or racist toward Islamic people or Christians. What are your thoughts on this? I think that people don't think. I think people like to put labels on people that they're trying to, what's the word? What are my thoughts on that? I think when people are feeling they're on the defensive because you're attacking beliefs or a belief system that they feel very strongly about, that's very close to their heart, they will say whatever hurtful thing they can say to you. They'll use big words. They'll use words that put labels on you. Anything to shut you up, basically. That's what they're doing. They're trying to shut you up because they don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear anything but what they want to hear. And if you're in their face and you're saying things that they don't want to hear, they're going to call you names. They're going to accuse you of things. That's what I think it is. I wouldn't really pay it any mind, and don't take it to heart. You know, I am also very afraid of cults that threaten to take away women's rights or gay rights or women's lives, because that's what Islam does. It takes away women's lives for the craziest reasons, like, oh, I don't know, owning a cell phone. Just trying to be an equal human being. Oh my God, even wanting to be an equal human being is likely a stoning offense in that cult. Yeah, I'm against cults like that, and I'm afraid of them. I think fear is a good reaction, a very justifiable feeling to have toward these cults. They're a threat. They're a danger. They are a harmful virus that need to be vehemently attacked. And they're going to fight back, and they will throw stones, and they will call names. As long as you keep in your head what those definitions of those words are, you know you're not that. That's all that matters. You know? Maybe it makes them feel better, but you know it isn't true. So I would ignore it. Or maybe, you know, if someone calls you that, maybe put up the definition of those words and a little explanation why you don't fit that definition. Yeah, I don't really think I've ever been attacked for being Islamophobic or anti-Semitic, just because I never really pay any attention to other cults or religions. They don't come knocking on my door. They don't try shoving their beliefs down my throat. Although they both have a very negative way of looking at women, a very demeaning and negative way of looking at women. And so I'm against them, but I don't make videos about them because they're not in my face all the time, judging me and telling me that I can't be a good person without God. So anyway, Niburu, I hope I said your name right. Thanks for asking me questions, for thinking that I have a brain enough that you're interested to know what I might say. That's very flattering to me. So, and if anybody else has been watching, thanks. Bye.
I am absolutely convinced that the main source of hatred in the world is religion. And I think it should be religion treated with ridicule and hatred and contempt.
Let's get together, home and sweat.